Thank you for being with us. Bombshell tonight as we go to air. At the 11th hour, Mommy and Daddy put the skids on their boys, ages 5 and 8, revealing what they know. Both of those boys in the home when the 10-month-old baby sister vanishes. And at this hour, a blow-up within the defense reports the imported New York defense lawyer boots local counsel off the case. Mommy announces that she is exhausted and grieving.
He said she's not in a crib.
That sounds like she believes the baby is dead.
Police in boats are scouring this lake.
They were out there with cadaver dogs.
Parents haven't spoken with police in a couple of weeks.
Fresh clothes on her and get her ready for bed. And
media was supposed to get inside the home.
This far into it, I still don't know the last person that saw the baby alive other than the mother.
That didn't happen.
Give her bottle and I made sure her bikini was in her crib in case she needed it.
There's something really odd about this. She was so drunk.
She slept with her Barney and she sleeps with her glowworm and her blanket. And I said, call 911, call 911. And we're running around the house and we're screaming for her and she was nowhere. And then
Mommy's behavior.
No, it's like they just walked in and just disappeared.
They are scared, like scared rabbits in a cage.
And why won't you talk to us?
Because we're grieving.
It didn't sound right to use the word grieve.
It's very, very unusual. We are live and taking your calls. In the last hours, the parents put the skids on their two boys, ages 5 and 8, from revealing what they know. Both of the boys in the home at the time baby Lisa goes missing, their 10-month-old baby sister. Both of them have stated, apparently, that they heard noises during the night. This, as we confirm, that cell phone the parents say was stolen. They said could not dial out because they forgot to pay the bill that month. Well, a phone call was made out from that cell phone in the early morning hours after baby Lisa disappears. A 50-second, nearly a minute phone call goes out, straight out to Jim Spellman, CNN correspondent, joining us there in Kansas City. Jim, why did the parents at the 11th hour stop the interview with their two little boys?
We don't know, Nancy. It's been such a confusing week, the information we're getting from the family's team. First, they canceled the media tour here yesterday. Then they canceled the press conference, and they canceled today's interview with the boys. Investigators were really hoping this was going to give them some new information to try to get a foothold on finding baby Lisa. Now it's canceled, or rather, we should say postponed until next week. But every day we get a different story, so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Joining me right now is a special guest, Erin Miller-Weiss, a child forensic interviewer. All along, the parents had said it would be too traumatic for their boys to speak to cops, so cops import a special forensic counselor trained to speak to children. Erin, thank you for being with us. Erin, after many years of prosecuting cases where children were victims, you really, to get all the facts, you really have to speak to the child in child language. Isn't that right?
That's exactly right, Nancy. And I just wanted to point out, you mentioned that sometimes there are concerns that this process is going to be traumatic for children. And I can tell you that there are children's advocacy centers and forensic interviewers across the country who are committed to making sure that this process is as child-sensitive as possible. We want to gather as many facts and information from children in child terms, and we don't want to lead them to any particular statement.
You know,
so we take
Erin,
great care
for
to be very
instance,
deliberate in that.
For instance, when I would be dealing with a child witness, for instance, in a child molestation case, I'm thinking of one specifically, you know, in an indictment, it helps you if you have a date of the offense, although you can put a range between April and June, this incident happened. But for instance, a child might go, well, I don't know what day it happened. You can ask, well, was the Christmas tree up? Was the Easter bunny coming? Did you have your Halloween costume already? There are a lot of ways to unlock a child's mind and get the story out of them without traumatizing. Would you agree, Erin?
Yes, there are many questions that we can ask to narrow down time frames. We might ask about weather. What was the weather like? Or how old were you? Who was your teacher at the time? Was it before or after a particular holiday? before or after your last birthday. So there are many questions that we would ask to, again, narrow down the time frame. And it's not unusual for a child not to remember specific dates that...
You're right, Aaron. Aaron Miller-Weish joining us out of Kansas City. Unleash the lawyers. We are all taking your calls. Jim Spellman there outside the Irwin home. Where is 10-month-old baby Lisa? There is a very strong possibility this child is still alive. Joining me out of New York, Joe Lawless, defense attorney, author of Prosecutorial Misconduct. Penny Douglas-Furr, defense attorney out of Atlanta. Both. Not just pretty faces. Both have tried a lot of cases, know their way around the courtroom. You know, Joe Lawless, at a certain point, when parents continue to block police investigation, there is a way around this. If they will not let the children talk to forensic investigator, and that is an investigative grand jury. Grand juries are called for two reasons. One, as a charging tool to get an indictment, and number two, as an investigative body. And they can issue a subpoena to these children if the parents continue to put up roadblocks.
Well, Nancy, there's no evidence that the parents put up roadblocks. What happened is you have Joe Tacopina coming in, who just got involved. He didn't cancel the interview. He postponed it. I expect it simply because Tacopina wants to get a handle on all the facts before he agrees to it. He's a very experienced lawyer, and I'm sure he knows about investigating grand juries.
Let's just check those facts out for a moment. Ellie Jostad, how long has the New York lawyer been on the case?
I couldn't give you the exact date he joined it, but he's been on it, I would say, at least a week, Nancy.
9-year-old Robbie Wood. Robbie has a severe case of autism and was last seen with his father and other family members before running off.
A grueling search effort made even more challenging by the rugged geography.
Robert Wood Jr. has been found and reunited with his family. He was found at approximately 2 p.m. on the Martin Marietta quarry property. It was approximately 3/4 to a mile from where he was last seen. The search is over. The investigation continues. And there are a lot of people to thank.
Here at VCU Medical Center, he's in the emergency room. He is being evaluated at this time. Now, they could not tell us how long he's been here or what he's been being treated for.
No one on the team ever gave up. And I have to say that there were some times that you just had to reach down and find that faith that you were going to find him. And whether it's appropriate or not, there is a God. He listens to prayer, and prayers were answered.
Police say they're frustrated, but they won't stop looking.
Cadaver dogs had their nose to the ground on the shoreline, sniffing for any sign of baby Lisa.
Parks, abandoned homes along this route to the festival food site.
What's near this lake? I'll tell you what's there. Festival Food Market. The night that she went missing, buying that box of wine.
Deborah Bradley was sitting right here on this stoop with a neighbor, and they were drinking.
If they heard anything, they're both pretty heavy sleepers.
This woman was sitting there passed out drunk when she has 3 children to take care of.
Investigators are looking everywhere and following.
Mommy, who besides the mother was the last person to see baby Lisa?
In the search for Lisa, her beautiful little girl.
Keep everybody out there looking for that baby.
We are live and taking your calls straight out to Beth in Canada. Hi, Beth. What's your question?
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for everything you do. I have a question regarding the store, okay? She is looking happy throughout. The brother of her is looking distraught, stressed. He's got long or medium long hair. Then he dropped her. Please look at his vehicle. He could have shaved his head. He could have changed his shirt. You know, that type of thing. And why are the children still with the mother, the other 2 children? Because aren't they at risk?
You know what?
As well?
That is a great question, Beth, in Canada. Out to Cheryl McCollum, crime analyst, director of Cold Case Investigative Research Institute. Cheryl, right now, some people would consider this case as going cold. I don't think that yet. I think it's still close enough to the time of the incident, and so many things are developing. They've gotten 1,000 leads in.
Right.
The reward's up to over $100,000. To me, this case is still very, very hot.
It's red
However,
hot.
You know, Cheryl, when one child gets stolen, kidnapped out of the home while mommy's passed out drunk, very often you see the other children taken from the family. What do you make of this?
Well, Family Services certainly needs to open an investigation just based on what she has already admitted to. However, they're working right now that this is a stranger abduction. Here's the biggest problem with this whole thing from what Mama has said from the beginning. There is no case more urgent and time-sensitive than a child abduction. Why in the world would she stall any investigation by not submitting to another interview, by not letting her husband take a lie detector, by not letting her kids give DNA? She is stalling the rule in and rule out process. Why would she do that
Cheryl?
if she weren't
You
guilty?
just brought up a really good point. Back to Jim Spellman, CNN correspondent outside the home. By refusing to let the boys talk to this special counselor about the night baby Lisa goes missing, they also are not giving their buccal swab. All that is you take, it's like a Q-tip, and you swab the inside of the mouth. That's it. So there's mystery DNA in the home. The cops want the boys' buccal or buccal swab. The parents have put the skids on it. Where were the boys at the time baby Lisa goes missing, Jim?
The boys were there in the house with a neighbor, a child of a neighbor, watching movies earlier in the evenings, and we know that at least one of them was in bed with Deborah Bradley when her husband came home, according to what they told police in the police report. And investigators tell us every day it's essential to their investigation to be able to interview the parents, get the DNA from the boys, and have these specially trained social workers interview the boys.
Penny Douglas, for how long till they convene an investigative grand jury and subpoena the two boys?
But that's totally up to the police and the direction in which they want to go. They can start one anytime they want to. But if I was the mother, I would get a psychologist for my children and then let their psychologist be present at the interview.
Penny, that's a great idea. Hey, Mommy and Daddy, are you listening?
Daughter Lisa was taken from our home.
We have to be strong for her.
Hair samples, mouth swabs, hours of interviews.
Using x-ray equipment that went still missing. A bizarre case.
Call the TIPS hotline if you know where she's at.
They say they are exhausted.
Nobody's sleeping, nobody's eating.
It's hard to tell what they've been doing to get exhausted.
Mommy isn't looking. She is grieving, and that's weird.
They don't come out to speak to the media.
We are live and taking your calls to Karen Stark, psychologist joining us out of New York. Karen, how would this counselor go about questioning the boys about the night their sister goes missing? Give it to me in a nutshell, Karen.
The best way to question children, Nancy, is to be in some kind of a play situation with them. So either have them make up a story or be playing a game with them. And while you're engaging them in a fantasy world, then you bring in the facts of what you're trying to get out of them. So they're connected to you, and they don't have to be afraid of what's happening. But children, when they act out fantasies, the fantasies are based on the things that they know. And so then they can begin to talk about what's happened to them.
To Ben Levitan, telecommunications expert. Ben, the parents have stated they could not make outgoing calls on their cell phone because they forgot to pay the bill. Yet now we confirm through two sources that a nearly minute call was made in the hours after baby Lisa goes missing from the stolen phone. The stolen phone. What does that tell you, Ben Levitan?
Well, Nancy, that is a really bad lie because this is pretty forensic evidence. A 50-second call was made. Not only that, we're going to be able to find out where that call was made from a general area. Was it made from the house? Was it made from the supermarket? Who was it made to? Are there other calls that were made? Now, these sound like like people who are used to having their phone cut off because you know when your phone gets cut off, you can still get incoming calls for a while. It was a convenient lie. But this is not something that you can dance around when the, I don't know if the police are holding this back to use it in an interview, but this is real forensic, and this is not something you can talk your way out of.
And it's going to be very interesting to find out who that call was made to after the cell phone was stolen. To Dr. Vincent DeMaio, former Chief Medical Examiner, Bexar County, forensic pathologist. Dr. DeMaio, so great to have you with us. If the parents are afraid or concerned about their children giving a buccal or buccal swab, could you explain what that is? It doesn't harm them or inflict any pain at all, does it?
No. All you do, essentially, it's like taking a Q-tip, putting it in the mouth, and swabbing one side of the inside of the mouth.
With me, Dr. Vincent DeMaio. Tonight, the search on for a 10-month-old baby girl allegedly stolen out of her own crib just feet away from her own mother. $100,000 reward. Tip line 816-474-8477. Where is baby Lisa?